Alright, today on this 2009 Mini Cooper, we're going to install part number RM-155 from Roadmaster. Alright, first thing we're going to do is start from the front of the car and work our way back. To help run a wire through the grill, we're going to use a piece of airline tubing. This could also be a fish wire or another piece of wire to help run it through. We'll run that through the grill and then underneath where we can reach it. Next we'll go to our wire harness, and it has two 4-pole ends on it. Doesn't matter which end, but we need to remove one. So we'll go ahead and cut it off and tape it to our pull wire. And pull it on through. Once we have pulled all the way through, we'll leave some hanging out the front. And we'll put our loom around it. After we have our loom on our wire, we're going to end up pulling that behind the grill and out one of the slots. Alright, now to help pull our wire through behind the grill, we're going to take the shorter 4-pole lead that comes with the kit. This is actually the lead that goes between the RV and the towed vehicle. We're going to push that through the slot and then to the inside. Push those two together and use it to pull the 4-pole harness back through the grill. Once we have pulled through the grill, we'll go ahead and use some zip ties to attach it. We'll also use a zip tie around the outside of a 4-pole to help keep it from being pushed back in through the grill. And we'll also leave a little bit of length out so we can pull it away from the grill as needed. Now along the length of it, we'll go ahead and zip tie our wire. And after that's done, we'll continue running a wire underneath the car back towards the taillights. Now as I run it underneath the car, we're going to run it underneath the subframe and out towards the back. We'll also follow the brake line along the side of the gas tank and over the rear suspension components all the way back to our taillight on the driver's side. Alright, now at this point, we'll go ahead and leave the wires alone and we'll go ahead and remove the taillights. Now to remove the taillights, first off, we have to remove the chrome bezel around the taillight. Using a small right angle pick, we're going to work our way between the chrome and the taillight lens. Now this will unsnap, but also helps to pull back the bezel a little bit, and you can see the little red tabs so you can push down with a small screwdriver to help break it free. Now it seems to work best to work on top and work your way down. Once the bezel is removed, you'll see there's 3 screws that we have to remove next. We're removing 3 Torx screws, and then on the inside, this is really hard to find, but there's a tab on top and bottom. It's best to push down, if you can, on the tab on top as you push out the lens. And then angle of it, the bottom of the lens up, so the bottom tab clears the sheet metal. Now this will take a little practice to get to the tabs. And you have to get it just the right angle and it'll come apart. Okay, once we have our light free, we'll go ahead and disconnect the wire harness from the tail light. There's a small tab we have to push and we can release it. Okay, we're done for driver's side. Let's go ahead and repeat the same process over on the passenger side. Alright, for taillights out of the way, we'll look inside on the driver's side socket and look down and you'll see a rubber grommet. We'll go ahead and poke that grommet out and let it fall to the ground. Then we'll go ahead and retrieve the grommet and we'll cut the center out of it. Using a utility knife, we'll work our way around and then pull it apart. In this case, we're using a pair of pliers to help pull it apart. We'll set that aside for now. And we'll go back to our 4-pole wire. Using our airline tubing again, we'll go ahead and run it down through the hole and use it to pull up our wire. We'll pull it up and through. and then run our grommet through it. We'll make sure we take up all the slack, and then we'll take our 4-pole wire and go right back through the grommet again. So we'll be making a loop with it, and we'll run it back down through the same hole. Once again, we'll make sure we take up all our slack, but leave enough wire inside that we can use to make our connections later. In this case, we're using maybe a little over a foot left over. Once we're satisfied with the length, we'll go ahead and reinstall our grommet with the wires inside of it. We'll leave that side alone for now. We'll go ahead and continue on running our wire over to the passenger side. Now, running to the passenger side, there's some factory wiring that will follow along the way. Make sure we stay above the heat shield and away from the exhaust. Now, at the bottom of the socket on the passenger side, there's a large rubber grommet. We'll use a knife to cut it, and then use our airline tubing to pull our wire through once again. Okay, we'll take up our slack and cut off our excess. Okay, now we got our wires ran to both taillights. Now let's go ahead and start working on the taillights themselves. We'll take one of the taillights, in this case the driver's side. We'll go ahead and mark for our hole. We'll use our 1-inch hole saw to make our mark first. And then we'll drill out a pilot hole first with a 1/4-inch bit. Then follow it back up with the hole saw. Now we'll take our light socket and bulb, and we'll do a quick test fit. When we put it in there, you can see that the tabs are bent in so it doesn't grip. So what we're going to do is remove the tail light and pull out the tabs a little bit, working our way around. We'll take a small screwdriver to pry up the small tabs. We're only going to pull up the tabs just enough to where we start moving them, and then do a test fit on the tail light. If you look like they all start, we'll go ahead and reinstall a tail light bulb, and then install a socket for good. Now what you aim for is you want a nice, snug fit. Alright, we're done for driver's side. Let's go ahead and repeat the same process over on the passenger side taillight. Now we can go ahead and start hooking up our wires. Now prepare our wires on the driver's side. We're going to split our wires away from each other. We'll split all 4 wires, and we're going to tuck away the green wire because that will not be used on the driver's side. So now we have our yellow, our brown, and our white. Starting for white wire for ground, we're going to take that wire and cut it in half. Using a butt connector, we'll connect those 2 ends together. And then we'll connect that to the ground wire on our new light socket, and that's going to be the black wire. Next, we'll do the same thing with the brown wire. We'll cut it in half. Use a butt connector to connect the 2 ends together. And the open end will go to the brown wire on our new socket. Now on our yellow wire, we'll go ahead and cut it in half. Now we don't need to use both halves. We just need to use the 1/2 that goes towards the front of the vehicle to our 4-pole plug. So we'll attach that yellow wire to our red wire on our new socket. All right, now we'll go ahead and tape up all our wires. And then we'll go ahead and reinstall the taillight. Now we'll go over to our passenger side and repeat the same process. However, we won't be using the yellow wire on that side, so we'll cut it away first and tuck it out of the way. So we'll have our green, our brown, and white wires on the passenger side. Once again, we'll take our white wire, cut it in half, and reconnect the two ends with one end of a butt connector. And the other end will get the ring terminal. A ring terminal will run some sheet metal on the inside of a car for ground. When we install our ground screw, it's a good idea to find an area where it has overlapping layers of sheet metal. And I'll take our black wire from our new socket and connect that to our white wire. And then we'll do the same thing, brown to brown. And then our red wire on our socket will go to the green wire on the passenger side. Once our connections are made, we'll go ahead and tape up the wires. At any point in this process, it's a good idea to take a zip tie and tie up any wires and anchor them to make sure they don't move anywhere. And then we can go ahead and reinstall the taillight. Okay, now apply power to the front and see how it works. First off, we'll go ahead and try our running light circuit. And then we'll go ahead and try the right turn signal. And then show our left turn signal. Now turn signals are the same circuit as a brake signal. Okay, looks like everything works. And with that, that'll finish it for our install part number RM-155 from Roadmaster on our 2009 Mini Cooper.